As I checked at my phone, I saw that Tyler had called. The conference room was full with people talking. With the expectation of the customary little chat, I made my way out into the corridor. "Where is everyone? How is everywhere? Just how long till you go home?" The tone of Tyler's speech was icy and condescending instead. He announced the divorce with an air of near victory. "You'll have to find a new place to live because I've already sold the apartment. Take pleasure in that." I was unable to breathe for a little second. It was so bold. The total absence of shame. It was nearly comical. As the impact of his words hit me, my grip on the phone grew tighter. "Was the apartment sold by you?" Maintaining a constant volume, I inquired. "Yeah," he remarked with a sardonic chuckle. "In order to establish a life together, Nicole and I require the funds. No matter how small it is, she deserves better than that." Though I had assumed for months that someone else was involved, hearing Nicole's name hurt. Something was amiss when Tyler started staying up late, took unexpected business trips, and the distance between us all grew. His nonchalant use of her name, as if I were an encroachment on their lives, set my heart ablaze. "It seems fine." I responded fairly. I was not going to let him enjoy the thrill of seeing me lose it. Until that phone conversation, I had the impression that the man I had married was trustworthy. My name is Amelia. After 6 years of dating, I still had faith in Tyler and our relationship, even though we hadn't always had it easy. We had saved up a lot of money to buy our apartment, a charming 2-bedroom in the heart of the city that had captured my heart from the first glance. It was more than just a house. It was a testament to our shared achievements. That is, until I changed my mind. Upon reflection, indications had been present. I had disregarded the foundation's minor fissures. Every time I brought up money matters, Tyler would act as if I didn't exist, and he would quickly kiss me and smile as if nothing was wrong. I had always thought his self-assurance stemmed from his expertise. Knowing he could control me was the source I now see. What remained of the day was a complete haze. Even though my thoughts were racing, I sat through client meetings and nodded appropriately. It seemed like Tyler had triumphed. He fooled himself into thinking he could sell the house I had worked so hard to buy and get away with it. However, he was ignorant of one vital fact. Months had passed with the apartment deed solely in my name. Tyler had consented to the refinancing earlier in the year without giving it much thought, since it would result in a reduced interest rate, but I had already transferred it. Never once did he read the fine print or inquire about the specifics before signing. He was about to meet his demise due to his lack of caution. I was no longer shocked when I got back to my hotel room that night. I was determined. No sobbing or pleading from me was a confrontation. Something Tyler was hoping for. Very well, but I was prepared to win this battle. As a first step, I contacted Chloe, a friend and lawyer of mine. My heart was racing, but my voice remained calm as I described the situation in great detail. "Had he already sold the flat?" she echoed with astonishment. "Even without your permission, he can't do that, does he?" "It seems not," I remarked, my tone hinting at a touch of amusement. "He considers his new life with Nicole to have already consumed the funds." "Dryly," Chloe chuckled. "Now that's going to be a wake-up call for him. The deal doesn't stand. Assuming he has collected any funds from the purchaser, you can establish sole ownership and hold him accountable for fraud." Just hearing the term fraud made me feel good. "How can we proceed?" I inquired. "The buyer will be informed that the sale is not lawful, according to Chloe. Next, we will write a formal letter to Tyler that will explain the repercussions of his behaviour. If he's foolish enough to attempt anything more, we will sue him." A peculiar tranquility washed over me as I ended the call. Tyler believed he had defeated me and had left me helpless and frightened. In actuality, though, he had merely exposed himself to the height of shame. I was able to keep my emotions in check and my energies directed toward my work for the remainder of the trip. Despite the pain of betrayal, I felt a renewed sense of purpose when I considered the possibility of taking back control of my life and seeing Tyler's arrogance fall apart. Everything was in order when I got on the plane to go home, all set to confront Tyler. I am prepared to expose his deceit and prepared to begin a fresh chapter apart from him. Winning was only one of the goals. It was all about reclaiming power. On the way back, I had plenty of time to reflect on how everything had fallen apart. The haughtiness of Tyler was shocking. He had made no effort to conceal his treachery, treating me like I were nothing more than a roadblock to his independence. But I kept my cool and planned out my return instead of letting my wrath get the best of me. I had been playing the long game unknowingly, but Tyler didn't know that. He assumed I was helpless. My initial contact upon landing was with Chloe. Announcing my return, I retrieved my bag from the baggage carousel. After this, what do we do? The buyer has already been contacted, she answered in a quick and effective manner. They were taken aback, to put it mildly, and were not pleased with Tyler. Their willingness to work with us is a positive development. Where does Tyler stand? I inquired. According to her, I formally notified him via email this morning. It details the possible ramifications of deception, the unlawfulness of the sale, and your exclusive ownership of the unit. I can only imagine his level of anger. He hasn't said anything yet. Oh great, I thought, ignore him. The flat was hauntingly silent when I got home. There were still items belonging to Tyler. His shoes were haphazardly thrown by the entrance and his jackets hung loosely over the chair, but something had changed the vibe, if you will. Knowing that the confrontation will be here soon enough, I laid my luggage down and took a big breath. That night, Tyler did indeed come crashing in, his face flushed with rage as he clenched his phone. Tell me what I'm looking at. With the letter that Chloe had sent, he yelled out. I take it you mean I have no chance of selling the apartment? The ownership is divided. Tyler, I quietly stated while crossing my arms. This is not the case. For months, my name has been on the deed. Selling what you do not possess is impossible. His expression was one of bewilderment and fury as he stood motionless. Could you please explain? I reached into the file where the deed was stored and held it out for him to view. I secured a deed transfer to my name following our refinancing. Do you recall that you gave your approval, or as usual, did you merely skim the paperwork? Just for a second, he remained silent. His face contorted into a scowl. You believe in your own intelligence, don't you? Nothing changes because of this. You will appear foolish when our agreement falls through. I have already made a commitment. My gaze remained fixed on him. Hey, Tyler, the deal is already off. The purchaser is aware of this and is prepared to pursue legal action in the event that you do not return the payment. I drew nearer while whispering. And while we're on the subject of finances, worse even would be the situation if you'd spent even a fraction of that amount. For the first time, Tyler's self-assurance faltered. Trying to avoid looking at me, he mumbled something about not knowing what he was talking about. Oh, I am quite knowledgeable about this, I declared with a calm voice. For a long time now, you've treated me as if I'm too innocent to see your manipulation. You know what though, Tyler? I've been keeping tabs, and now it's your turn to face the music. As his irritation grew, he began to pace. I can't believe this. It seems like you're exaggerating things. You can't simply expel me from this place. I, arching my back, arched. On second thought, I know I can. I am the rightful owner of this flat. I am granting you the luxury of time to consider your next move, so, for the time being, you are welcome to remain here. However, allow me to clarify something. I am not leaving. As time passed, Tyler's wrath transformed into a desperate state. His frantic voicemails, which he left for me time and time again, ranged from pleading to threatening. With all eyes on the prize, Chloe was busy making sure everything was in its proper place. As Chloe prepared the initial documents for the divorce, the buyer, infuriated that Tyler had wasted their time and money, withdrew the arrangement. She assured me during one of our sessions that, "You're doing well, Amelia." In this situation, Tyler does not have any negotiating power. He will need to cooperate if he wishes to escape an even worse crisis, what with the transaction being cancelled and the fraud allegations looming over him. Although her remarks brought some consolation, they also served as a stark reminder of how much influence Tyler had over my life. I rationalised away his rudeness and indifference for a long time, telling myself it wasn't worth standing up to him. I was resolute in my mission to reclaim what I had lost after realising how much I had been sacrificing. I invited my closest friend and Laura over for an evening to assist me with the apartment's reorganisation. After carefully placing Tyler's belongings in boxes, we stacked them in the living room's corner. "Is he handling everything well?" she inquired while playfully pointing to one of his flashy ties. I said, laughing uncontrollably, that I was not well, even though he knows he can't convince me otherwise. I'm not. Budge. "Great," she exclaimed, dropping the tie into the container. "He is completely unworthy of your time and attention." A surge of appreciation for her encouragement washed over me as I nodded. For a long time, I felt emotionally and financially abandoned by my husband Tyler, who seemed to take credit for everything. But suddenly, I had supporters, and that changed everything. On the day Tyler brought Nicole to the flat, my last move was perfected. As I sat at the dining room table going over some paperwork, they strode in as if the place belonged to them. Observing her surroundings, Nicole grinned arrogantly, her arm intertwined with Tyler's. "I take it this is our lodging. I am entitled to everything," she said. With a racing heart and unwavering determination, I rose to my feet. I expressed my disapproval with conviction. This was Tyler's residence. "This is not going to be a place for you, Nicole." Her grin wavered as she cast a sidelong glance at Tyler, who was just as taken aback. "Excuse me, what on earth is this?" That was his demand. "My home is this," I said, pointing to the apartment all around me. "Definitely not a motel where you may shack up after betraying me, and definitely not yours or hers." Even though Nicole's face became chilly, she remained silent. But Tyler appeared as if he were going to burst at any second. "This is too much for you," he yelled out. "You're not thinking things through." Unflinching, I locked eyes with him. "Tyler, that's inappropriate. Your expectation that I would simply give up once you sell my house and pocket the proceeds is completely irrational. So far, I have refrained from filing criminal accusations, so you are lucky." Standing in the doorway, Tyler's face flushed with annoyance. Nicole crossed her arms, her expression growing more uneasy. He remarked to Amelia, "You're being ridiculous," his voice betraying his desperation. "Nobody has the right to force me to leave my own home." I moved forward, my voice steady yet determined. "My home is this place. Tyler, as you are aware, the title has been held by me for quite some time. As usual, you signed the document without reading it. Unfortunately, you no longer call this place home." As Tyler caught Nicole's eye, she tightened her grip on her purse strap, her hand exquisitely manicured. Explanation. What is she referring to? Her tone was direct, as she inquired. "According to what you said, you sold this apartment." In an attempt to dissuade her, he retreated. "It isn't simple. I'll see to it." "Oh, it's not complicated," I remarked as I positioned myself closer. "You made an unsuccessful attempt to sell an unowned flat. There was no valid sale. Tyler plus, you are now without any support." Nicole lost her cool. "Do you mean the funds you mentioned to me earlier?" Her voice rose as she paused in the middle of her statement. "Oh my goodness, were you also dishonest about that?" "Wait a second. Nicole, I'll explain," Tyler hurriedly said, hands out in the air. But that didn't sit well with her. I abruptly told him no. Permit me to elaborate. If Tyler could sell the apartment without my knowledge or consent, he might keep the money for himself and leave me with nothing. The fact that I had the title changed to my name a few months ago was unknown to him. So he was dishonest because he pretended he could sell it, but in fact, he was unable to. Nicole's jaw clenched and loosened like a fish taking a deep breath. "Scandalous," she said, stepping back from him. "Do you not mean this?" "Yeah," I answered, crossing my arms. "If he does not get his belongings and depart by the conclusion of the day, I am ready to file charges." There was a final crack in Tyler's armour. "This is impossible, Amelia," he pleaded with her. "You can't just dump me after 6 years of being together." I added, my voice becoming more gravelly, that the second you made that phone call, you kicked me out. You informed me that we were getting a divorce and then made fun of the idea that I would have to move out. "Tyler, your actions went beyond betrayal. You actively sought to destroy me. Keep your composure and stop playing the victim. Nicole continued to step back, her gaze flitting back and forth between us. She whispered under her breath as she gripped her handbag even more tightly. Tyler, you withheld all of this information from me. You claimed to have taken care of everything. His expression betrayed his desperation as he turned to face her. Here, Nicole. I can fix it. I simply require. Her raised hand abruptly ended his conversation. I repeat, do not. I refuse to be involved in your chaos. She pivoted on her heel and sprinted out, leaving him frozen in shock without uttering a word. As the door closed behind her, a smile spread across my face. Coming back to Tyler, I told him it seemed like you were on your own. What comes next can be discussed now. Submerging his face in his hands, he slouched into the couch. Excuse me, Amelia, I made a mistake. Yes, I am aware of it. It is not mandatory that you do this. I agreed with him as I placed a folder on the coffee table in front of him after retrieving it from the kitchen counter. Although it is not mandatory, I intend to do this anyhow. The divorce papers are here. It has already been prepared by my lawyer, therefore. I ask that you sign it without delay. Please, do it as quickly as possible so that we can both go on. His face turned pale as he gazed over the folder. Do you truly despise me to that extent? Feeling furious at you. A sour chuckle escaped my lips. Hey, Tyler, I really don't dislike you. My heart goes out to you. You lost everything, a person who cared about you. The house we had built together, and everything else because you were too self-absorbed to see beyond yourself. With a racing heart and unwavering determination, I rose to my feet. Please, vacate the premises before the day comes to a close. Get a place to stay and gather your belongings. I am extending no more grace to you at this point. His shoulders drooped in defeat as he froze, his mouth poised to argue. Oak, he whispered. Okay, I'll be right there, good, I remarked as I made my way to the entrance. And you should absolutely not consider doing anything else. I will not hesitate to let the courts handle it the next time you cross a line. Chloe is already taking care of everything. Tyler carefully rose up and reached for his coat as I opened the door. As he strode away, his defeat evident in his heavy feet, he avoided my gaze. I felt a twinge of regret for the life we may have led together, had he been the guy I had imagined him to be rather than for him personally. A feeling of relief, however, swiftly superseded that moment. Following his departure, I locked the door with the replacement key I had manufactured. I would not allow anyone, particularly Tyler, to reclaim this place as my own. There was an eerie stillness in the apartment following Tyler's departure. It felt like I could breathe again after all these years. Without his haughtiness, deceit, and presence, the room felt lighter. No one else was around. All I had was the house I had constructed, and the quiet knowledge that I had triumphed not only over him, but over all my self-doubts. Standing in the centre of the living room, I could feel the void where his belongings once were. The flashy coffee table he had insisted on retaining, his overstuffed gaming chair, and the framed jerseys that had strewn over the walls were all gone. It was as though the flat belonged to me again. Cleaner, brighter. Subway and a bottle of wine were brought by Lauren that night. Has he truly departed? As she sighed dramatically and collapsed onto the couch, she inquired, saying this while pouring 2 glasses of wine. I declared that they were gone for good. I told him he had till the sun went down to gather all of his belongings. He stayed silent. Lauren gave a toast, best wishes for new beginnings and much-needed successes. Feeling the burden of the previous week gradually dissipate, I leaned my glass against hers. I will never again tolerate it when someone takes advantage of me. In the days that followed, I gradually started to regain the apartment. In the living room, I rearranged the furniture, brought my beloved artwork into the room, and surrounded myself with items that brought me joy. The topic extended beyond simple home decor. Making the flat represent myself rather than the person Tyler had envisioned me to be was the main goal. Chloe gave me the confidence boost I needed when she contacted with updates on the court process. She clarified that the buyer's decision to drop fraud accusations means they would not be pursued, but that the divorce procedure is progressing without a hitch. You will be declared free once Tyler signs. The very sound of the word free caused my heart to race. There was more at play than the divorce. I had been carrying this for years, and it was about everything. Everything that had been weighing me down, resentment, lack of self-confidence, and the sense of being shackled by a marriage that didn't appreciate me was beginning to lighten. A couple times, Tyler attempted to make contact, from insincere expressions of regret to pitiful efforts to shame me into making amends. His communications covered the gamut. A single reading revealed my error. We need to discuss this right. Someone else was even more frantic. My life will be destroyed by you, Amelia. Is it your desire? I remained silent. I was finally going to stop wasting my time and effort, attempting to mend something that was completely broken. Now that he had made his decisions, he had to face the fallout. The apartment seemed like a brand new place at the weekend's conclusion. It was cozy, welcoming, and totally mine. Indulging in a cup of tea, while gazing out the window at the city lights, I pondered over all that had transpired. Although it came as a shock, Tyler's treachery served as a wake-up call. I had allowed myself to think for far too long that I was unworthy of anything better than the crumbs of admiration and affection he would occasionally offer me. But I was now aware of the difference. It was more than simply getting back into my apartment. It was getting my life back. After 1 month, everything had changed in my life. It wasn't the significant improvements that made the flat feel unfamiliar. It was the way it felt. My tastes, attitude, and sense of freedom were all mirrored in that room. The place felt lighter and more liberated without Tyler's clutter and his domineering presence. Everything was going swimmingly. With the divorce, Chloe had meticulously arranged things so that Tyler could not raise any objections or cause any unnecessary complications. He probably realised he had little leverage and signed the papers without much fuss. Neither a dramatic confrontation nor an impassioned plea to resolve the conflict occurred. There was nothing more than a refreshing vacation that was at once melancholy and incredibly fulfilling. While going through some old documents, I stumbled upon a snapshot of Tyler and me from when we were first dating. We were giggling and holding hands, brimming with optimism and potential. I let the flood of memories to overtake me as I gazed at it for a while. On occasion, I thought we were finally putting our lives together, and those were the happy times. Neglect, deception, and treachery had long since eclipsed those times. After placing the picture in an envelope, I stashed it away in a drawer. I wasn't prepared to just toss it, but I also didn't think it was worth keeping hidden. Though it had been a part of my life in the past, it no longer defined who I am. We went out to dinner and cocktails at a hip rooftop bar downtown to celebrate Lauren and I's finalised divorce. "You're glowing," she said, raising her martini to toast you. Living a single life is more your style. A feeling of comfort that hadn't been there in years made me giggle. I insisted it wasn't the single life. Freedom is what it is. This is the first time in my life that I have not felt confined by the regulations of another. We raised a glass to that, and I began to feel proud of myself more and more as the evening progressed. It had been one of the most challenging times of my life, but I had overcome it. Getting by wasn't my only goal. I was flourishing. I began making preparations for the future after I returned home. The flat had evolved into more than just a haven. All I had regained was represented by that. It was clear to me, though, that I couldn't remain without eventually leaving. I hoped to leave my past with Tyler in the past and find a new home someday. I had vowed to myself that I would savour every second in the sanctuary I had battled so hard to maintain up until that point. That night, when I curled up on the couch, a feeling of tranquility enveloped me. I recalled how confident Tyler had been throughout that phone call, that he had even laughed. It was impossible for me not to grin. He had failed because of his hubris, but I had succeeded because of my quiet strength. A marriage wasn't the only thing that ended here. That was the first page of a new book, one in which I was the protagonist and could write my own rules for happiness. When I finally felt free, it was after a long period. Sometimes the greatest betrayal leads to the greatest freedom. Amelia's journey wasn't just about reclaiming an apartment, it was about reclaiming herself. For years, she accepted small cracks in the foundation of her relationship, believing that love meant patience, sacrifice, and endurance. But betrayal has a way of pulling back the curtain. In the face of humiliation, Amelia chose dignity. In the face of manipulation, she chose strategy. And in the moment, Tyler believed he had crushed her. She stood taller than ever before. The real victory wasn't about proving him wrong. It was about proving to herself that she was stronger than every lie, every selfish choice, and every moment she had doubted her worth. Sometimes strength isn't loud. Sometimes it's the quiet decision to stay calm, to plan carefully, and to walk away with your head held high. In the end, Amelia didn't just win her apartment back. She won her peace, her freedom, and her future. The hardest endings often become the clearest new beginnings, because when someone tries to erase you, you realize just how much power you have to rewrite the story yourself. Never underestimate the strength of a quiet victory.